Live in 5 seconds. 4,
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, Kufar Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of...
That sound, was the sound bad just on my end? Kept on fading in and out. No?
It sounded good to me. I don't
Okay.
know. I had to run to get some water anyway, but I mean, it didn't sound like it was...
Darcy, did it sound okay on your end?
Yeah, it sounded good.
Okay, it's just my pad. Thank you. Sorry.
That phone that you said that you got fixed.
Well, it's my pad now. Ron got me a little pad.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah.
where was I? Okay, Kufar Ak. By the way, Kufar Akbar, welcome to another edition of the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. This is a blog talk radio program dedicated rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. We're here every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're looking a little thin tonight compared to what we were Sunday. Sunday, we had the house was packed. Isa couldn't even get in. And that was like from the time we started to the time that we shut down, for Pete's sake. I mean, the whole thing we about had 10 people there almost the entire time. Oh, here's Paul. There, Paul made it. Hallelujah. Amen. We can get started now. Okay, so Sunday. Okay, well, Darcy mentioned that somebody threatened Avery over in God Logic. Does anybody have any G2 on that? Any intel in chat? Maybe I see Chloe's. Chloe, because she said she did it on. They did it on Clubhouse, and it was in the Clubhouse room. I don't know if they're discussing that over on his. Chloe says, "Yup." I don't know if you want to... Darcy, were you listening to this in the Clubhouse room when it happened, or you just had heard this?
It's what I saw it, the room title.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, maybe if Chloe wants to come up, let me post the link in the chat if she wants to come up and... Let's see. If she wants to tell us what happened. He was... Hold on. Doggone you, Kaffer. Get it in there. Boom. Bam. Take that. If you want to come up on into the room, Chloe, give us an update. You can. Okay, so today, what are we talking about today? Last week, okay, Sunday, Karen, I thought Karen Thompson did a great job on Sunday.
It was great. I learned. I mean, it was well done.
Yeah, and I've already downloaded and plagiarized her slideshow that she sent me. So I appreciate her sending, and she sent me a couple of other ones from a class that she had taken with Al-Fadi with Veritas out there in California. So let's see. It's 12 a.m. in Sweden. Well, what are you doing in Sweden? Oh, look at Chloe. It's 12 a.m. in Sweden. What are you doing in Sweden? I thought you were an American.
Sweden.
She's sweeting over there. But anyway, I thought she did a great job presenting all the facts that she did. She's very well spoken, very well learned, great academic presentation. Oh, she's visiting you have family that are Swedish. She's visiting family. Well, get your family some visas and have them move to the United States. You don't have to travel so far to go.
Oh, Sweden's quite dangerous, by the way. I don't know if you know how dangerous it is. It's almost rape land. I mean, that's the unfortunate truth.
That's right, because they're supposed to be like the rape capital of the world or something.
Well, that and Denmark together are pretty much it. It's dangerous. When I was there in 2016, it was bad. And there are, for all those liars that say there are no-goes, there aren't no-go zones. I'm sorry, they do exist. You don't feel safe traveling there. They don't post signs saying don't come here. They do let you know that this is a Sharia ruled neighborhood.
Really? They have public signs?
No, they don't have signs. That's what I'm saying. They don't have signs saying don't come here, but they do let you know as you enter the area, this is a Sharia ruled area. If you decide to play music in a Sharia ruled area, you may end up beat up.
No kidding. Wow. Let's see here. Sweden is
That is disgusting. I mean, don't they have their own laws? They're just bowing down to Islam.
The policemen fear enforcing the law in a lot of places.
Oh, wow. They're going to get their country taken care of.
Oh, that's what happened in the UK.
Jeez.
That's why they would. I mean, this, what bothers me is that's my heritage. I know my family's been here for 400 years, but it still bothers me that they wouldn't protect their children in Sweden. I mean, in the UK, they wouldn't, and they're now having the same issue in Sweden. They've been having it since 2015, and there was no requirement. So they would make you a citizen. All you had to do was say you were from Syria. You could be pink, blue, orange, whatever, and as long as you didn't have to have any proof. All you had to say was you're from Syria, and they would give you Swedish citizenship, and you could automatically vote, could own property, be on the welfare rolls, everything.
They said that Sweden is going to turn into a third world country here shortly because of the drain that is placing this drain that is placing on.
When I was there in 2016, there were migrants. They don't call them refugees. They were migrants. They're taking over elderly people's homes, kicking the elderly people out. We were getting this straight from politicians in Sweden, and I leave the number last I looked is between 15 and 18% last time I looked. So it's going. Once they hit 20%, things change. So they have to be really concerned.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I don't think none of them are. None of the governments are. They're just, it's just like, well, almost like they just want everybody just to kill themselves and only the elite to remain. It's disgusting.
They have what was I going to say?
France is encouraging them to jump into the Atlantic Ocean and cross the channel. It's.
Well, I was going to say about the England with the girls from Malmo and Rotterdam. The 2000.
That's Malmo is Sweden. Yeah,
not Malmo. There's two cities in England where this is going on in Rotterdam
and I can't think of their name in England.
Yeah, that's why I said Malmo. I thought it was thinking Malmo. You're right. It's Sweden, but that's another rape capital too.
Yeah,
but that is 2,000 girls, and when we think about the responsibility of, number one, of dads.
And the dads couldn't do anything. They would report things, and the police wouldn't do anything for them.
Well, there's something.
This is where in the United States we would take a gun. I'm sorry, we would defend our children.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm
we
going
would
with it.
there, and nobody would have had a problem with one of these. I mean, they might have taken them to court. I know that I live in Libland, New York, but even in Libland, New York, when you're protecting a child, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They will not.
How's that go, Paul? How does that go? Judged by 6, then carried by 12. Or no, judged by 12, then carried by 6. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that to my daughter, my granddaughter. I mean, it's game on. You're just done. If the police cannot protect you,
it's when the citizens start to take over. It's an unfortunate truth, and I think that is happening slowly. Some of the what's actually happening faster in Sweden than many other countries is the takeover of politics, because they made everyone who came in and claimed to be a Syrian a citizen in 2015 to 2016.
Yeah, that's just sick. Yeah, that's who just put it in the chat that said that XYZ, rest in peace, Europe. I got am I on somebody's speakers where I can hear myself?
It might be me
speaking. Okay, there I can't hear myself now. Good. Yeah, I was saying it wasn't protecting my daughter from me or from the rapist. It would be protecting the rapist from me is what the police would need to do, because you just cannot. I mean, you hear stories of men and their relationship with their daughters, how it changes after they're traumatized like that.
Well,
and
what I will say to those people in those countries that are following the Sharia, you dare to do this in Texas. I just want to remind you, there was a court case not long ago where a rapist went after a man's daughter. The man put the pedophile in the ground with his own weapon, and it wasn't a crime.
No, that's what I'm saying. Judged by 12, carried by 6. Great Commission put it in there. I'd rather be judged, but right there, rather be judged by 12 on a jury than carried by 6 in a coffin. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on today's topic. I see my son and his family just pulled into the driveway, and I can hear them out there rattling around already. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. This is going to be the Meccan mystery part 2. We started in on this last week, and we were going through the source documents, source evidence for Mecca or lack thereof. What sources are there right now that corroborate the standard Islamic narrative? And the fact of the matter is, hello, big man. Hold on. I gotta mute myself.
The joy of being a grandparent.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. There she is.
Aww.
You smile. You happy to see Papa? They've been gone for a week. That's why they're coming over to see me. Yeah. She's on my podcast, my live stream, and she has no idea what she's doing. All right, come take her away. Your mom will be home, and she just went to get number 1 over there, so she'll be here in just a couple minutes. I'll be out short. I'll try to make it short tonight. All right, we'll see you. Sorry about that. No, I'm not sorry about that.
Right, never be sorry about that.
I love my grandkids. I love my son too, and his wife, but boy, I love them grandkids. Okay, so the Meccan mystery. Last week we were talking about the sources for Meccan, where we get the history for Islam, and they all come from Islamic sources. They don't come from extra Islamic sources, nor are they corroborated by extra Islamic sources. When we say extra biblical sources, we have all kinds of corroboration. We got Josephus, we got Tacitus. We have oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. Pliny the Younger. We have who's the satirist? Lucian, Marbon Serpian. I mean, we have all kinds of different outside sources that corroborate what happened in the first century during the inception and the beginnings of Christianity. We don't have that for Islam. There is nothing out there in manuscript evidence other than Islamic sources. And even then, we don't have manuscript evidence in Islamic sources until 2.5 centuries later, when it was supposedly compiled in the Ahadith, or 2 centuries later, before we even received the biography of Muhammad. So there's nothing there when we start talking about manuscript evidence from the 7th or 8th centuries. It's all post 9th century, 10th century, and you can count on it being redacted to conform to some type of narrative that not the Umayyad, but the Umayyad and the Abbasid dynasties wanted you to hear. So to say that there's equality between evidence for both of the faiths it's basically a farce. It's just simply not true. And what I want to focus in at the beginning here is archaeology, because when we look at archaeology for Christianity, I mean, you don't get better archaeology for the Jewish faith and the Christian faith. And when we looked at trying to prove your heritage, this is something you want to do. And I talked about this before. I did a whole show on it. I don't think I showed as many areas or as many pictures as I'm going to tonight. Okay, so we've looked at the problem with the sources. We're going to be looking at the origins today with the pre-7th century and this post-7th century, and we'll put it all together when we get done. Okay, so when we look at archaeology, every culture that we know of wants to prove their history, wants to demonstrate their antiquity, to show how ancient they are and how deep their heritage really runs. And if you go to Iraq, you can see, I saw, 5,000 years of history there. So let's take a look at some of these places. I mean, of course, you have Rome. Rome takes great pride in what is still standing there in Rome. This is the famous Colosseum built by the Jews after they were exiled in 70 AD. You have all kinds of floors and the intricate tile work that still exists. I was stationed in Naples, Italy for a couple years, and we used to go to Mount Vesuvius. When people come see us, we go over to see Mount Vesuvius. We go up to Rome too, but we go see Mount Vesuvius just on the other side of the mountain. And you could still see the tile work there from when it was covered by that volcanic explosion in, was that 72 AD, 70, I can't remember when it blew up, but it was right about the same time that the Roman Colosseum, or not the Roman Colosseum, the Jewish temple was sacked and destroyed. You also have amphitheaters, all kinds of ancient amphitheaters that are sitting out. You have Egypt does the same thing with its pyramids. Egypt takes great pride in its archaeological evidence, demonstrating its antiquity. There's all kinds of archaeological digs all over Egypt. Whenever you put a spade in the ground and you turn dirt or sand over, you have a pretty good shot at finding some type of archaeological evidence demonstrating the antiquity of your faith or your culture. Let's see here. This is where the majority of it is, right here in Lower Egypt. This is where the pharaohs have a lot of their pyramids and a lot of those ancient, what do you call those? They're graves that they built. Steve, I just muted. If you want to come up on mic, you can anytime, but I had some background noise coming from your computer. Then you have Greece. You have the Acropolis here. I mean, you look at Greece. The Greece held the 2000 Olympics, I think, and they did a lot of excavating in order to build stadiums and facilities for the Olympics. And they ran out of museum space. They started putting these artifacts in train stations. They would build displays in the train station so they could display the multiplicity of artifacts that they were digging up. And the reason why they have a multiplicity of artifacts to dig up, because their heritage goes way back. It goes back 2,500 years. I mean, it goes back a good ways. Anyway. China is the same way. If you look at China, they dig up all places all across China, and they come up with all kinds of artifacts looking to demonstrate the antiquity and the veracity and the cultural heritages that they have. You go to Peru, This is Machu Picchu. Sits high in the Andes Mountains. This is the Inca civilization. People are still down there digging up stuff to demonstrate the antiquity of the Inca civilizations. And that's all Native American civilizations. This fossil right here was in Iraq. This is in Babylon. And this would have been May 2003, and you still have bricks still standing.
Is that you?
That's me. That's a lot thinner version of me. That's a lot. That's 20 years. That's almost 20 years ago, for Pete's sake. God, my goodness, how time flies. And this is at the same place there in Babylon. They still have these old statues from the Babylonian period sitting there. This is the old city and the relief sections that they would have in there. I sent this picture to Kent Hovind, the Dr. Dino guy, while I was over there, and he put me in this picture in one of his presentations once upon a time. But this is what, 2,600 years old right here. But they're still digging it up in Iraq. This is from Sargon's palace. This is up in Nineveh. And you still have these huge winged animals that are bulls with human faces on them, still standing there today. And this is, you never guess whose palace this is. Sennacherib. This is from the time of Hezekiah. When you think of the Bible, when you think of excavating and demonstrating the veracity of the Bible, you think of doing that mainly in Israel, and you do, and you find it all over the place. But when you travel clear to Persia, clear to Iraq, and you're able to excavate evidence demonstrating the veracity of the Bible, that's something special. And this is this is taken right where this is right during the invasion. I mean, this is May of 2003. You can see the soldiers in the back there. I took this picture with one of them little those digital cameras that you had, the 3.5-inch floppies that you had to put in, and they were a big old hassle, but I did it. And if you wanted to excavate evidence for Jerusalem, well, all you have to do is just Google it. I mean, this gives you a simple, it'll give you a simple list of things that you could find. Here's another Google search. Archaeologists find evidence for biblical siege of Jerusalem. Archaeologists find more evidence for Babylonian destruction. So you see a common thread here, do you not? We find all this evidence for all these other places, all these other civilizations. Archaeologists find first evidence of Jerusalem. Archaeologists remnants of the Jerusalem temple. You have entire Wikipedia pages dedicated presenting the evidence for the antiquity of these things. Just a simple Google search. Look at I'm putting in archaeological evidence for Jerusalem, archaeological evidence for Jerusalem, archaeological evidence for Jerusalem, and this is all these things pop up. But watch what I do here. Oops, red just got back. Watch what I do here. I put in archaeological evidence for Mecca. Now look what this reads. Saudi experts set to uncover secrets of ancient trails to Mecca. Is there anything for Mecca there? It's just like, who does Muhammad pray for, or Allah pray for, or to, or whatever? It's the difference right there. Archaeological evidence for Mecca. Look at what it says here. There is no archaeological evidence that suggests that Mecca is an ancient town that existed before the Christian era, or even that existed before about whatever. So there's no archaeological evidence for Mecca. And then here where it says history of Mecca, there is no archaeological evidence that suggests Mecca is an ancient town that existed before the Christian. Oh, this is what I clicked on right there. Before about 4th century AD. So 200
Can you enlarge
years.
that, please?
I cannot.
That's better.
Can. Golly. All right. Okay. So when we look at the evidence for Mecca, the archaeological evidence for Mecca, the bottom line is there isn't any. And the importance of Mecca needs to be completely understood from a historical perspective. Whenever you want to do if you want to demonstrate the veracity of your belief system, you have to have some type of corroborating evidence demonstrating the history of it, the historicity of it. Christianity has it. Judaism has it. Islam does not have it. What do we have to suggest that Mecca existed at the time of Abraham, as insisted upon in the Quran. That's in the Quran? Am I correct on that? Where Abraham was in Mecca? Okay, so where's the evidence for that?
Oh, it's an Ibrahim, so it's not the Abraham of the Bible at all. It's Ibrahim.
Well,
Anyway.
it's important what the Muslims believe. And the Muslims believe that Abraham lived in Mecca when he turned out Hagar. Where did Hagar get turned out from? From Mecca, or no? Hagar got turned out. They were in Mecca, and maybe it would make because they built the Kaaba. Am I correct on that? They built the Kaaba, and then he turns her out, and then she runs into the fields of Safa and Marwa. It's God
funny because if you look at the Bible story, it almost seems like if we're taking both the stories and we trust their story that was their home ground, it looks like Abraham ran away.
but it's, the Quran never mentions the name Hagar.
Very well
it
said.
Doesn't really.
No, in fact, it doesn't mention Sarah either. It just says Abraham's wife. And it's
right. So, the only woman in the Quran is Miriam. The sister of Moses.
And Aaron. Imran.
Yeah. I still think that's
okay.
Keep the lie. They just name her, and no other woman is named in the Quran.
Okay, but
that tells you a lot.
But they mention her though, don't they? I mean, Mary. I mean, she gets mentioned. I mean, that shows
Miriam.
Miriam, not Mary. It's Miriam.
Yeah, Miriam, but that's it.
Jesus is supposed to be the son of Moses's sister, which I laugh at every time I hear it. I'm sorry.
Well, that's believable. I mean, she could have been old. I mean, look how old Sarah was. Sarah was 100 years old.
Well, wouldn't that make her a few thousand years old by that point?
1400. So, what's your point?
And yet she was to get engaged to a much, much younger man then.
Okay, so when we look at the history of this is where this is my wheelhouse here. Is history. This is what I do. When you look at the history of a religion, you have to have evidence that corroborates it. That you have to have evidence that backs it up, that is consistent with it, and we find that all over the Middle East, all over Israel. We find it in Iraq, for crying out loud. So to suggest that Mecca has any type of evidence supporting its existence in the 7th century is absolutely a farce.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, listen, you silly cow. Don't you know, we have the miracle of the Quran and the science of the Hadith. We don't need your Western filthy Kaffir archeology, digging the ground, dig up graves. What kind of science is that? No, we have the Quran, and in the Quran, Allah tells us that there was a Mecca. Allah would not lie to us because it also says that in the Quran that He would lie to us, but no.
I was thinking about that on the way home today about how Muslims view this. I mean, and Steve, correct me if I'm Steve. You come up on mic. Tell me how Muslims view the lack of history for Islam, and what is is it important to them?
It's not, and Radical was kind of joking there, but that's absolutely the case. It's like we don't need science; we have faith, and we have faith. This is a miracle. And this is the way, Mecca, first of all, is too holy for you to go dig around over there. And, Saudi Arabia, of course, won't let you, and I just want to throw in another, but what Radical said is absolutely right, which is I don't need your stupid Western atheistic infidel science to tell me that Mecca existed. Thank you so much. But there's another thing that I think is very interesting is, there is so much biblical stuff there in Saudi Arabia, that they should open it up for archaeology because it's an amazing place archaeologically, in regard to the Exodus, in regard to so many things. They really should open it up because it'll make Saudi Arabia that much more awesome a tourist spot, because, they're going to be running out of oil. They need more tourism dollars. And this will be awesome, but they won't, Mecca excluded, but I'm talking about other stuff that is there, from the Exodus and stuff.
Well,
when
you mentioned the Exodus, there's a up further north where the Gulf of Aqaba exists. It is thought that might have been a possible crossing for the Red Sea, because the Gulf of Aqaba is part of the Red Sea. And on the other side is the land of Midian, which they call Midian. And then there's a mountain there. And there's a couple rocks there that look like they may have gone through some massive water erosion, water coming from where they don't know. It looks like it just came out of the side of a hill. And then there's the mountain of, what do they call it? Something Jabal al-Lawz or something like that. Yes. And they built a fence around it. And they won't let people even go on top of it. Yeah. Like, and the top of it is all charred black. We don't know what type of, it might be obsidian or some type of, we don't know, because they won't let anybody up there. Yeah. And they're on the base of that, where the mountain is, there's all kinds of inscriptions on the rocks down there. So you're absolutely right. If they would just allow people to go up there and check it out, they could make a snot gaboodle bucket of money.
Yeah. Tourist money. And over where the Red Sea crossing, there is a big gelatin, a supply of gelatin there for when, the 10 Commandments split the sea and there was the 2 jello walls on the sides, that the people walk through. That's a bad joke. Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to think, would that have been the Jello brand, or would that have been like an off brand, like a Walmart? That's just silly. But you're absolutely right. They could, when you start looking at archaeology. But here's the reason why. What I believe, and because I don't know if I've discussed this on the show, but I don't think we've ever done a show on this before. The Red Sea crossing, the Exodus. We might. I don't think we have. But the Red Sea, if the Muslims believe that the Bible has been corrupted, that would include this Exodus event, because they don't recognize Passover. They don't recognize all of these Jewish holidays as being actual historical. And if there was evidence supporting that, of course, you're going to want to repress that and shield that and keep the public from seeing it, even if it's causing you snot gaboodle buckets of money in tourism dollars. I mean, if you're sitting on an ocean of oil, what do you need the tourism dollars to begin with? Well, if they run out of oil, like you said, or if Donald Trump gets back in power and drives the price of oil down into the gutter again, maybe then they would think about it. Who knows? Okay, so what else can we say about Mecca? What I want to do is I want to look at how important it is to Islam itself. So let's bring the slideshow back up here if we could. And when it says Mecca is all through the sin, that is the standard Islamic narrative. This slideshow was made mostly by Jay Smith. I plagiarized the material. He said it was okay to plagiarize his material when we were in those classes. Karen Thompson was in those classes with me when we were where we got this slideshow anyway. Okay, so when we look at Mecca, it's the oldest and best known city in history, according to the sin. This is where Adam came down to earth when he was 90 foot tall or so. I don't know, it's kind of tall. He would have left a big old footprint. It is where Adam and Eve, were to throw down to heaven. That's Surah 7:24. It's where Abraham lived. That's Surah 21. And this is where he went in and destroyed the idols in the Kaaba, supposedly. This is where it's supposed to be the center of trade, where you have north, south, east, and west. And this was popularized by Montgomery Watts and his trade route theory. Karen did a great job on Sunday describing how absurd this is by demonstrating that, using geography, demonstrating Mecca sits on a plateau. It sits on a plateau about 5,000 feet above sea level. What kind of idiot would try to transport goods across land up a mountain to a plateau and then down again, when all you have to do is just stay on the sea? You just follow the Gulf of Aqaba and it takes you straight up. So she did a good job of describing the absurdity of that. So if all of these things were true about Mecca, there should be archaeological evidence for it, or some type of documentation demonstrating its existence prior to the 7th century. When you look in the Quran, Mecca is supposed to be the center of his. Whoops, Rad, I didn't mean to hear. Let me bring it back up. Sorry, I removed you. I don't know, you got a bad connection today or something? You're fading in and out.
My phone's freaking out, dude. It's going to 3G and stuff. So I'm on the Sears Tower Wi-Fi now, so we'll see how that works out. There is no 3G, by the way, so I don't know what the deal is. Okay, might have to get another one.
Okay,
Eric,
so
can you make this full screen, please?
Yep. Hold on, let me get over here. Okay, so here you have, it's supposed to contain the first sanctuary for mankind. This is the Kaaba, if I'm not mistaken. It is the mother of all settlements, according to Surah 692 and 42:7. It's where Adam and Eve were thrown down. It's where Abraham lived. It's where Muhammad was born and lived until 622. Mecca is the center for the Qibla. That was changed in 624 from Jerusalem. And the only reference to Mecca in the Quran is one time in Surah 48:24. So why would this city be so important? Well,
that's the question I have about Muhammad too. I mean, if he's so important, why is he only mentioned 4 times? And if Mecca is so important, I mean, Jerusalem is important, okay? And we mention it over and over. I don't know how many times we mention it in the Bible, but it's so many times. Bethlehem's important. We mention it a lot of times. Any city of importance, I mean, there's more details in a few sentences in the Bible than there are in the entire Quran.
Okay.
And they misspell it too, because they call it Becca, you know.
Yeah, I think Jerusalem. Yeah, I've been down that route too with somebody before. It's a valley of Becca, don't you see?
Yeah. And then
when is Mecca a valley?
Okay. Jerusalem in the Bible, if I'm not mistaken, is mentioned over 2,000 times. If I'm willing to be wrong on that.
So if they want to go that argument, you look at and I think I don't know if you got it coming up or you did it last week. The descriptions of Mecca and Medina in the Surah al-Rasul are so entirely different than, I mean, they don't fit the where Mecca is. There's nothing about it that fits.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm in Dan Gibson's Chronic Geography, this book here. I'm just kind of thumbing through it.
Wow.
And he gives you all kinds of references that describe Mecca that simply aren't true. It says Mecca's mountains, they're not quite right. They're not mountains. Safa and Marwa are nothing but hills. It says that rainwater passage surrounded by mountains. There's rainwater there. There's no rainwater there. There's grass in Mecca. There's clay loam in Mecca where you can plant crops, loam soil. That's how they describe it. There's supposed to be trees in Mecca. You're supposed to have grapes in Mecca. You're supposed to have enough food to feed large armies in Mecca. My question is if you don't have water there, if you don't have water, you don't have food. If you don't have food, you don't have people. If you don't have people, you don't have large armies. So all of these references, descriptions of Mecca simply just cannot be true because of the fact that it is just a barren wasteland. Plus it mentions, Steve, tell me if I'm wrong on this. Does the Quran mention someplace that there were elephants in Mecca at one time?
You know, I know the story about the elephants. There's some kind of an attack that happened there with the birds came and dropped rocks on them. I can't remember that. I don't know if that's.
It was the year of the elephant. No, the elephants were not in Mecca. The elephants came with an African army or a southern tribal army to attack Mecca, and Allah and His perfect miracle. See, they invented the first airstrike. The birds took up rocks, and these were like big rocks evidently because they were, it was seriously the first B-52 bomber.
Right. I had done
Hey,
some research in that one time.
During the Intifada, because I was living in the Holy Land during the Intifada, and they said, if there was a Palestinian Air Force, we would drop rocks. Just kidding. But no. But I did want to say that I was wrong. I was wrong. I have to correct myself because I said that Mecca is not mentioned in the Quran. The Mecca, it's Mecca. But I was wrong about that because I was just reading the English Quran, and it does mention Mecca every single time.
So wait, Steve, if it's only mentioned in English, is it mentioned in any other language?
You know what? See, you're not supposed to ask questions like that. You see, you're messing everything up. That infidel mindset.
Is it an infidel mindset to ask a question?
That's right.
Absolutely, because as I was saying, we don't need your archaeology. We don't need your Western Kufar science. We just need the Quran and the science of the Hadith. And the Quran and the science of the Hadith tells us that Mecca was the first city.
Brad, who was it?
And that Abraham and Adam was there.
Brad, who was it that said, leave your brain at home or something like that?
Yeah, that was...
Is that Cotty?
Oh, no, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I don't get it, brother.
Okay, it's Surah 105. Seest thou not how the Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? Did he not make their treacherous plan go astray? He sent against them flights of birds,
in that part of,
striking them with stones of baked clay. Then did he make them like an empty field of stalks and straw, of which corn has been eaten up.
So who's Allah talking to? Seest thou? Who's he talking to? As if they saw this way back when. You see? Who is Allah speaking to here?
Yeah. Okay. So you got. So it says the companions of the elephant. So that doesn't necessarily say elephants were in Mecca. So I could kind of see that, but I don't know if there would be tasfir on that. What they say. The bottom line is that there's no way that elephants would be able to survive in the Arabian desert, and the reason why is they drink about 30 gallons of water a day each, and you just can't lug that type of stuff around, and plus the heat alone would probably destroy them.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to travel. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the slideshow here. All right, so here it is. Guys, if you wouldn't have got me sidetracked, we could have just gone to the next slide. Here's the next slide. It has very little vegetation. According to the Quran and the tradition, it's the place of the prophet. It's in a parallel valley. You probably can't see that. That lettering there is J's. It's blue, but this is from Ibn Hisham al-Bukhari. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different location or citations. It has a stream, and this is from Bukhari. Outside is the ruins and a pillar of salt. This is from the Quran, Surah 33 or 37, verses 133 through 138. It has fields. This is from Al-Bukhari. It has clay and loam. This is from Tabari. It has olive trees, and this is from Surah. What is that? Surah 6, 141, and Surah 16, and Surah 80, it looks like. Olive trees. Folks, there are no olive trees in Arabia. None. People have looked. They haven't found any. Now,
and there's no grass? Grass?
Oh, you silly copper. Don't you know this is another miracle of the Quran? Don't you know? Don't you know, you silly copper?
Yes, I know it's all a lie. That's what I know. It's all a lie.
It's the miracle of the Quran. See the Quran back then, that was before global warming. You see, the Quran predicts global warming because it tells you about the wonderful trees in the valley and the streams and how Mecca was before you evil kafirs started sucking the oil out of Saudi Arabia and polluted the earth, and now it's a desert. See, it's all you Kufar's fault Before that, it had trees and everything. Okay, it was beautiful. But then you
And who
Kufars
sold the
screwed it
oil
all
to
up.
the Kufars? And who sold the oil to the Kufars?
No, you stole our oil. Don't you understand? You stole the Muslim oil because it
Okay,
was we didn't
that's
want
another
this.
hadith, right? That's another
Yeah.
hadith that needs to be made.
Sorry,
That's why they keep on
science
writing
of
all
the
those
hadith.
books.
Yes.
They have so
Anyway, go
many
ahead.
books just to try to cover up its original lies. You know, man.
Okay, and this is what we're doing. We're peeling back this onion here and showing how many how the Quran and the accompanying Islamic literature describe a place that's completely different than what Mecca is. Mecca does not have olive trees. Does not have mountains overlooking the Kaaba. Safa and Marwa are not mountains. You could qualify them as hills, maybe, but they're definitely not mountains. Okay, so Mecca is not in a valley. It has none of the things listed above because it's too arid and too dry. You don't have olive trees. You don't grow olives in Arabia. They're further north up in the Mediterranean region. So if it's going to say that it has olive trees in chapter 6 and in chapter 80, it's just wrong. I mean, you just can't. There's no, unless you can go down into Arabia by Mecca and excavate in that sand and find olive seeds in the ground there that are they're left over from old olive trees. Then you have no case, none, zero, zipple, zilch. There's no history of olive trees growing in that region, but yet you have to believe it. Maps, Mecca is not on any maps. If you look at all of the maps that are dated prior to the 7th century and up into the 7th century, none of the maps have Mecca located there. This is a 2nd century map of Arabia. Donde está el Mecca? It's not here. No está aquí. Dove es?
Hey, wait a
We
minute.
don't
Didn't
know.
you say that Abraham was supposed to be there? Shouldn't it have existed if you got a 2nd century map?
It should have said, yeah. But look at all the different places that do exist on this map. But the mother of all cities, a major trading center, is not there. Que paso, amigo? Here's a Ptolemy's drawings. Ptolemy puts it in the wrong location and he calls it a different name. Where is Mecca? It's not on his map either. Sorry. Here's let's see. This is another map of Ptolemy's. It's not there. Donde es? Here's another map from the 7th century. It's not there. Donde es? Don't know. Here's one that is another 7th century map. Look at all the different cities that exist there. Look at all of them. You got Arabia Felix, and then you have, what's the place in the north called? Arabia something.
Hijaz?
Well, that's in the middle. That's the Arabia Hijaz. That's between Mecca and Medina. But up in the north, what do they call that? It's Arabia something.
What people are forgetting again is that all these cities are known because of the concept of trading, which is what you've got coming here. If you don't,
it's what now?
Yeah, which is what you're going through. If you're talking about everybody was, exchanging goods, and that's how you survived. You exchanged goods, and your life got better because you were exchanging goods with people from other places.
Right.
But if there's no exchanging of goods from that spot, no one knows it exists, and it just isn't important. I mean, that's to me, that's the funniest thing about the whole thing.
Well,
if you were going to invent a city or make up a faith structure, you would at least try to make it a place that exists, or maybe nobody wanted to admit it. Well, I just find there's so much funny.
Well,
here's funny about that.
When we start talking about people making money, when people make money, they write about it, they brag about it, they celebrate it, and then when people find out, oh, you're making money off of this city here, they're going to follow what you say, and they're going to write about it. They're going to draw maps. They're going to say, this is how we got here. This is how we got back. And this is how we're going to go back, and we're going to make more money off of it. You don't have that with Mecca. If it's supposed to be the mother of all cities, the first city of all civilization, it's supposed to be the city where Abraham, Adam.
They talk about in Surah Al-Rasul, they talk about the guys who ruled the city as like their princes.
Yeah, and nobody knows about this. Now, come on, this is
Because
credibility.
Allah protected it. Allah protected it. Don't you understand from you?
Oh, so it's kind of like one of those cities like Shangri-La.
Exactly.
He's not protecting nothing.
They wanted.
What did he
they wanted to
protect?
exist.
He's actually hiding everything.
Hey,
Yes,
Eric.
we're hiding up on
Well,
the
that
kuffar.
doesn't cut it.
Hey, Eric. Before you finish,
Well,
can I
and
just,
that's what they're doing. They're hiding. You know, of all of mankind.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
yeah, I don't know if you have time. I just
Go
got
ahead,
like
Steve.
I just have like a 1.5-minute video clip that really helps.
Did I freeze or did Steve?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Steve.
Okay.
I can hear you.
I just have this small video clip that really helps answer a lot of this. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But
Eric, I think you're frozen. Can we hear you though, Eric?
There we go. I'm back.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead.
There's
Okay,
Eric again.
Can I show this video? Just 1.5 minutes long, like.
Yeah. Okay. XYZ hit it for me. Arabia Felix, Arabia Deserta, Arabia Petra. Yeah. Okay. What do you got, Steve? What do you
This
feel
is
in
a
there?
very important video.
I got a feeling I'm being set up again, but it's okay. It's happened before.
Okay. Sorry, got to wait for the Joe Biden commercial.
Oh.
Okay, this is very important. Okay.
Jeannie? Oh, your legs, yeah. Well, let's get going and look for that well of the Matahar.
Oh, Master, we are in trouble.
Huh? Why? What's the matter now?
I've forgotten where the thieves' market.
We can't stand around here all day.
Oh, what are we going to do?
And we're going to talk to the first thief that comes along.
May I assist you? Move along, sister. I'll take this one.
He's with me.
No, I'm with you too, baby. You two kids want to dig the scene?
We're looking for the thieves' market, and we're in a hurry.
Thieves' Market. Oh, I never heard of that one. Let's see. There's the Cockeyed Camel, the Purple Pyramid, the Fez West. What is this place? A discotheque?
Oh, no, that does not understand.
Look, baby, let me take you to the Basin Street Middle East. Man, it swings.
No. We're looking for the
That's
thieves' market.
Klinger.
Well of the Matahar.
Oh, I get it. Souvenirs.
Yeah.
I can see it, all that jazz. Authentic Persian rugs. Pictures of pyramids. Do you hold them up to the light?
Can you turn it up, Steve? Can you turn it up, Steve?
It's like we were there. It's like we were there in Mecca, man. This is another miracle.
She
Yes.
says that this is Mecca, and she tells him how to pray towards the mosque in this. And that's why I'm thinking there's some money going into this subliminal Islamization. Just watch it. I know it's crazy, but just watch a second when she starts telling him how to pray.
The old thieves' market.
You gotta be kidding. That kind of jazz went out with high button veils. What you kids want?
Yeah.
Now, take your left hand and put it under your right elbow.
Right.
No, palm upward also.
It is good luck. Do as they do.
Must be a native customer.
Lift your left leg from the ground.
Right. I say, miss. I've a game left leg, rugger at Cambridge. Would the right one do? No, New Canadian Air Force exercises.
Your native customs. We had to come 4,000 miles for this?
Now, Master.
All right, just a minute. Oh, I'm terrible. All right. Jeannie, do we really have to do this?
Oh, yes, Master. Ramdo commands it.
Oh. Here.
Now, repeat these words.
Yeah.
Bottle to Genie.
Bottle of Genie.
Genie to Master.
Genie to Master.
Master to Mecca.
Master.
Yes, Master. Ramdo commands it.
anyway, that's it. But you know, the reason I want to show that is I think that's subliminal Islamization right there. You know, and I Dream of Jeannie. So
that was 40, 50 years ago, for crying out loud. That was.
It was like we were there. It was like we were there in Mecca, man. I mean, no, I can dude, seriously. This is another Allah miracle. Allah's miracle.
Yeah, that was Klinger. Let's see. Did that sound like Klinger? Yes, that
Klinger
sounded
came
just
back.
like Klinger. Yes, from man.
But you know, she says in that, she says, I have to go to Mecca. I have to go to Mecca. You know, she says it over and over again, and they are in Mecca. That's supposed to be Mecca right there. And praying towards the minaret. And and he has to stand and do that thing towards the minaret, and they show the minaret too. So anyway, I think that's subliminal. But anyway, sorry, that went off such a topic. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, let's see.
Wait, I do need to point out. Hold on.
During the
hold on. We do need to give a PSA at this moment. In no way is any of this commentary done to inspire anyone to go get into a car and run over a Muslim family. We just have to put that. Okay?
Thank you for that. Making sure that, just so we alert the public on that.
We're here to give love to Muslims, just not love to Islam.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get back to this. I want to close this up semi-early because my grandkids are still here. I want to get it. I don't see them. I haven't seen them for a while. Okay. Oh, excuse me. What did I do, dear? What happened? Oh, I took my stream off there because I put Steve's on there. Okay, so there's no map evidence for Mecca. Where did Connie go? Did she leave? Did Connie leave?
I didn't notice, to be honest.
Okay, so let's see. Then the trade route theory is all ganked up because it shows, watch, this is the earliest trade route theory, but look where it changes to. They change it to offloading. There's Connie. She's back. What'd you do? Go take a break, Connie?
What's that?
Did you go take a break?
Oh, yeah, I had to go back to my phone.
Oh, okay. I said the Connie was here, but she just disappeared. Okay, so now what Montgomery Watt's trade route theory is that they would take the spice trade, the silk trade, all this trade from India, offload it down here. I think this is Aden. Is that the port of Aden? I can't tell. And then they would take it by ship to Mecca, up that plateau that Karen was talking about. It would go through Medina, which is Yathrib, and then it would go up to the Mediterranean region. That's stupid. And the reason why it's stupid is because you can ship goods much cheaper and much safer by keeping them on the boat instead of getting pack animals and trying to feed and water your pack animals all the way up a coastline that you could have just sailed and shipped more goods faster, further, and cheaper. And then it goes on to talk about, this is what they were saying. They have all of these ports on the eastern coast of Africa. There are no ports here on the western coast of Arabia. So it would make much more sense to send them up the west coast or the east coast of Africa in the Gulf of Aqaba, where they were actually trading things, than here in Arabia, where there's nobody there. There's no ancient ports on that side of Arabia.
I've got a question.
Yep.
So if Allah threw down Adam to Mecca, did Adam make the first Kaaba?
I don't know. I don't know. Is that part of Islamic tradition that Adam made? I don't think he threw
him. I think he was thrown down like somewhere like around Bangladesh or something, and then they walked and they kept calling each other until they met. Adam on one side, Eve on the other side, and they kept calling each other until they met, like somewhere near Mecca.
Yeah, you need to tell Jay that, because Jay said that Adam and Eve was thrown to Mecca.
Oh, really?
You know, the devil loves company. The devil was the one that was thrown out with his angels that agreed with him.
Was Eve 90 feet tall too?
I have a question about that. Is that metric or the American kind?
Well, it's actually cubits. It's 60 cubits.
Okay.
And a cubit, if a cubit is the distance from your elbow to your index finger, that's your cubit. And generally, it's about 18 inches. Some of us, it's longer. Some of it is shorter.
They found the skeleton of a 90-year-old man. Don't you know that, Kuvar? No, Osama Abdullah actually published the article from Hebrew University where they discovered it. It's really
A 90-year-old man or a 90-foot
no,
man?
not 90-foot man. They did this whole Photoshop thing, and Osama Abdullah published it and ran with it on his answering Christianity blog or whatever. It was like a big deal, man. It was.
I think I actually saw that article.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Was it peer reviewed or?
No, well, Osama Abdullah was one of the first Muslims that would come around and debate David Wood and get beat up all the time. He was with Sami Zaatari. He was with the original crew. But yeah, he actually, dude, he ran with this for a while. And dude, it's even probably if answering Christianity is still up, he probably still has that article up claiming that is true.
I believe it's still up.
Yeah, no, seriously. To this day, even though this blog of ex-Muslims or atheists actually did this, they totally set him off. Okay, he ran with it, but not just him. All kinds of Muslims on the internet, they ran with it as proof. Okay, because it comes from Hebrew University. He's a Jewish rabbi, so it has to be true. There was no such thing anyway. It was totally anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, XYZ squared us away on the conversion from metric to standard, and 60 cubits would be 98.4 feet. Thank you, sir. I knew somebody out there would figure that one out. All right, let's finish up tonight's show with going through this Red Sea trade route, where Jay goes in and describes how the Red Sea, the trade route, never went into Arabia itself. Let me put my laser pointer back up here. So here's your 9th, 10th century Islamic view of Arabia, where the trade went to. You have Jeddah on the coast and Mecca here, Yanbo, which would supply goods to Yathrib, and then it's purely overland is what it describes. And if you were to go by sea, and go by via Jeddah and Yambo, you would be going up the east coast, but you're not having, the west coast of Saudi Arabia, but you're not having any goods to trade. There's nothing there. There's no people. There's no water. There's nothing to eat. So you don't have anything to trade.
Tell us what you really know, Eric.
Well, it just angers me that people are that obtuse that when they start talking about, oh yeah, you had a whole civilization. Show me one piece of archaeological evidence demonstrating it, please, for the love of life. And you can't. And then you can turn around and say, well, we know nobody was here because they don't have any water. You don't have any water. You don't have any food. You don't have any food. You don't have any people. You don't have any people. You don't have any civilization. It's that simple.
Darcy put up here, Adam had to have a huge appetite. I wonder how long the food sources lasted for a 90-foot tall man. How about a tall drink?
Yeah, about as fast as it would for an elephant, I would think.
Yeah. I got something to say. May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And if Adam and Eve arrived already in Mecca, there's no vegetation. Then they would not survived. What would they be eating on? Right. Right. There's nothing there. They would have died. So Islam actually made Adam and Eve die.
Well, again,
from their conclusion.
If we just look at the Bible, which is we look at the Torah, the first book in the Torah, it says couple of the rivers that we still know where they are. The Euphrates, we still know where it is. The Tigris, we still know where it is. Hey, guess what? That area is called the Fertile Crescent, and it's considered the cradle of civilization. The only ones who get that wrong are one particular group of people who worship this little god called Allah.
Yeah, and how far north is that to? About 800 miles, maybe. They're only 800 miles off. Yeah. Okay.
I think,
Eric,
think
if
it
it
might
was
have been
Petra, how far off would that be? Now, I mean, that's the other thing, because that's the only. I mean, I'm. If Petra was the real description of what they were describing,
well, Petra's 600 miles away. I mean, that's
still closer. Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. Okay, let's jump back to this. Okay,
I think Jay was right about Petra.
I think I think Dan Gibson's right about Petra. Okay, and then you also have Alexander the Great traveling to Mecca. I don't know how that all works out, but he comes from Greece and goes there. He sent 3 expeditions.
Eric.
Yep.
Alexander the Great. Yep. When did he leave? When did he live before so-called Muhammad's time?
Well, he died in 323, I think, is the year they date his death. And then Muhammad lives in 630. He dies in 632. So that's 600 plus 300. That's 900 years, 900 plus years apart.
Oh, my goodness. So now Allah's going to tell us what, or the Muslim men are going to tell us all what Alexander the Great had to say almost 1,000 years later.
And if you don't believe it, then you're an apostate.
See, that's a stronghold. That's what Islam is. It's a stronghold. It's a spiritual demonic stronghold, because any natural people like us, anybody is, we got that discovery in us. We want to, check facts and check things like that to make sure that they are factual. But because the Muslims won't, that's a spiritual stronghold that's just blocking them. It's a principality.
Well, I've described it before as, and I honestly believe this. I want to make sure people understand this. I'm not saying this to denigrate Muslims, but I believe that in order to believe these things, in lieu of believing that Jesus Christ died on a cross for your sins, and you're forced to believe these things, you have to have some type of spiritual blindness going on, some type of demonic inspired blindness. If you are that obtuse and you cannot see the truth, the things that we can prove, we can demonstrate using history, using archeology, using common accepted methodologies, instead of just saying, well, I believe the Quran, and even though the Quran says this and we don't have any proof for it, I still believe it because, like Steve said, they have faith.
Blind faith.
I blame the jinn.
Hey, real quick, I hate to interrupt here, but I'm getting
That's
in the
not
tunnel.
a faith, though.
I'm getting in the tunnel. I hate to interrupt, but please make sure you play the close. The close. Okay, I'm just saying. Just want to remind you, because that's why everybody's tuned in, just to see that great close.
And specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what I'm.
That's all, folks.
No, you're supposed to play it at the end and then go to black.
Oh,
he's going to do it again.
Play it now.
Love that.
Like, why does he want me to play it now? Well, okay, fine, Red. I'll play it for you. I didn't know if you wanted to see it. I'll play it when we close out.
Love it, Rad. Woo-hoo. You're my inspiration, buddy.
Okay, so you have 3 expeditions from Alexander the Great, one to Bahrain, then you have one through the Gulf of Oman, and then you have one going around Arabia, up the Red Sea to Egypt, and then it came back as there was no ports to get supplies. Okay, why? Here's why. Here's why this is okay. They're going up the wrong coast of the Red Sea. They're supposed to, as I mentioned earlier, you're supposed to be going up the western side of the Red Sea, where there are actually demonstrable ports that we can demonstrate that have been there for hundreds, if not thousands of years, unlike the ports that we find in Jeddah and Yambo. Those you cannot demonstrate existed for that long. And the reason why is because there was nobody there and there was nothing to trade.
Okay, this water, that you
Yep.
got with the red line and all the little squiggly lines in it. Is it fresh water
No,
or is it seawater?
That's salt water. That's
Okay,
part of the
sir.
Red Sea. That's part of the Red Sea.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And it comes off of the Red Sea. This is the Sinai Peninsula right here. And the Sinai Peninsula, the Red Sea splits. One goes up the Gulf of Suez towards the Mediterranean, where they had to build the canal, the Suez Canal. And then this one goes up towards the southern part of Israel in the Negev. Okay, so we know the names of these ports according to Jay, because we can excavate them, and they have a history. They have a recorded history. This is the important part. They have a recorded history. We can go back there and find corroborating evidence for their existence. Unlike Mecca, you have them in Eritrea, you have them in the Sudan, you have them in Egypt, 2-3 different places, and they all predate Islam, and they're within 5 days distance of each other. Only Yambo has any type of history to it. Jeddah was built as a port for Mecca, and we have no history of either Jeddah or Mecca until the 8th century, folks. 100 and some odd years after the death of Muhammad is before we have any history.
Yeah, that's the 900s, right? That's the 900s. Yeah, like
now, 8th century is 700s.
Oh, is it? Yeah, you're right. My bad.
That's just the opposite. It gets confusing sometimes. I do it myself, where you go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
The reason why you don't have any history there is because you didn't have any people. You didn't have any people because you didn't have any water. You didn't have any water because you didn't have any food. You don't have any food. You don't have any people. You don't have any people. You don't have a civilization. It's simple, folks. It is so simple that even this kafir can figure it out. Okay, so without Mecca, what then happens to 7th century Islam? Well, I can tell you what happens to it. It goes into the gutter. All right, next week, we're going to look at the Qiblas and what the Qiblas say. And I'm going to call it Qiblas and coins, I think is what I'm going to say, because we'll look at the Qibla direction and the archaeological evidence, real archaeological evidence that we have for the direction of prayer of the earliest mosque. And they don't face Mecca. I know you're shocked. They don't face Mecca. And the reason why they don't face Mecca for the first 100 years is because Mecca didn't exist. That is the most plausible, the most sensible answer. Why don't these Qiblas of these mosques that we know were built at this time face Mecca? Because Mecca didn't exist. And that wasn't the place where the Kaaba was. It was someplace else. All of this, when it's redacted, you can redact writings. You can go back and change writings to change history, but you can't change the archaeology. You most definitely can't do that. And if you were going to present archaeological evidence for the existence of Mecca, it would have been done long ago. And the problem is you can't do it. That's why it is a mystery why people believe this stuff. Okay, folks, I'm going to call it quits. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go out and play with my grandkids.
Let's hear from Isa. Let's hear from Isa.
Real quick.
Okay,
Qibla and bits inspire me. Qibla and bits. I got a video in the work right now. Qibla and bits. Qibla and bits. Qibla and bits. You know, make sure you play the cold clothes. I'm just saying.
Okay, Red, the background, that's train station you're in is killing me.
Yeah, it is loud.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we hear from Isa?
I don't know. Does Isa
Or
want to
anyone?
talk? Or is Isa on
I like hearing him speak.
Isa, are you there? Isa Kabir going once. Isa Kabir going 6 times.
We have to call him Dr. Kabir. Oh, there's Darcy.
I blame Jibril and the jinns for this confusion.
Yepper. That's the only thing that would cause people to actually believe that stuff. Okay, so where did it go? Quran. Good night. Here we go. All right, here is the closing, and God bless you all. Thank you for coming.
Advanced student and specialist. that the standard narrative has holes. That's what I'm that the
That's all, folks.